Welcome to Trial by Fire, an original podcast by Lexigate. In each episode, we sit down with women who built their own firms and redefined success on their own terms. Here's your host, Julia Hensel.
Welcome back to Trial by Fire, where we hear the inspiring stories of women who own their own firms. So today, I'm thrilled to be talking to Dana Brooks of Facing Brooks. Thank you so much for joining me, Dana.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, happy Friday. I'm so excited to be able to hear your story today and would just love to start off at the very beginning. So my understanding is you've started your journey as a paralegal, and so I would just love to hear what interested you in law in the first place and why did you want to start that career path?
Okay. Well, I kind of just fell into it. I was in high school and I was raised by a single mother. So it was very important to me to, get some skills and be able to make my own money and not be a burden to her financially. And I worked when I was in high school. So I think I have about 10 or 12 hours of high school. I worked all through my junior and my senior year from like 8:30 to 5:30. So you only had to take one or two classes or something. So I had health insurance, 401k, all that stuff. I worked at a law firm when I was still in high school. And being in proximity to people is a big deal. I didn't have lawyers in my family. I didn't have any of that. So just being exposed to that kind of a thing. And, you get to doing things. I was in the financial part of it, the bookkeeping and loan closing and stuff like that. And then I met a paralegal and she showed me about legal research and I learned about that. And it just kind of fell into other things. And then I went to a junior college, got a paralegal degree, and I did that for years. That was a great investment for a 2-year, investment in your education that can pay really well. I did that for years. And then I ended up working for my husband, who was a medical malpractice defense lawyer. So I learned a lot. Again, being in proximity to people is a tremendous advantage. So that parlayed into other things. I was a clinical social worker for a while. I was a family law mediator for a while. And then finally, I just said, I keep tiptoeing around this. I need to just go ahead and go to law school. And I did that. And I'm kind of a lucky person. You should rub my head. But I got an opportunity while I was still in law school to become a partner in an established personal injury law firm. There was two people who had it for 25 years or so, and they wanted to retire at the same time and kind of sunset. And one of them had somebody, and the other one thought he did, and then that person moved away. It's hard to keep people in our area. That's kind of a challenge for Tallahassee. So he had to kind of start again, and I looked like a little bit of a shortcut and a catch up for him because I already knew a lot about that area. It was medical malpractice he wanted to do on the plaintiff side. He was doing on the plaintiff side. So I just hit the ground running. And when I was sworn in as a lawyer at about 11:30 in the day, and I was made a named partner of this law firm at 4 o'clock the same day. So when you do that, I've told this story many times, but when that happens to you, people wonder why. What is special about her? Mm-hmm. And if you're attractive, they're going to say certain things too, like who did she sleep with? Is she somebody's wife, somebody's sister, somebody's daughter? Nobody really ever expects that you're going to get anything on your own. Not that I worked and toiled and slaved over that. That was just an opportunity that came to me, but I was prepared for it when it came to me. I did have a law degree when it came to me. I did have all of that experience when it came to me. I did have the maturity and wisdom that a lot of my classmates did not have at that age coming right out of law school. So some of it's luck, but most of it's being absolutely prepared for that opportunity when I met it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, so many people graduating from law school don't have the years of experience that you had seeing all different types of law from many different angles. So no doubt that you were fully prepared. But I can imagine it's also scary sitting there being sworn in and knowing you're going to be, having your name on the door later that day. What were some of the biggest fears that you had going into jumping into that?
I'm very fortunate that all of my fears were internal.
Okay.
I was married to a successful lawyer. I didn't have to work at all. Mm-hmm. I could be on the tennis court if I wanted to be. Yeah. So not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just I decided to go to law school.
Okay.
I was married, had kids, the whole nine. I graduated law school 3 days before I turned 40.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a lot of it.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly your question.
No, I think it makes, well, one, that makes total sense. It kind of changes the game a little bit when you know you can do it because you enjoy it, not
Too.
because, like, when you were in high
Yeah.
school, you're probably working because you had to get through to
Yeah.
the next day or
Yeah.
the next paycheck.
Yeah, that was what I started. External versus internal motivators. My motivators for success were internal. I felt like by this time it was a big flip for me, because coming from someone who had so many disadvantages to somebody who now had a lot of choices.
Mhm.
Not everybody gets the opportunity to go to law school, much less write a check for it and not have any debt when you get out. And then have all the opportunities you want. I could have done anything. I was a public defender while I was in law school, and I loved it. I could have afforded to stay there. A lot of people can't afford to be a prosecutor or a defender.
Right.
But I had a lot of options. So every pressure I put on myself was internal. I knew that I had a lot of privilege. I knew that not everybody gets that opportunity. However, I will tell you this. I think it's relevant for your show. 5 other people had been given that opportunity other than me.
Wow.
And they either failed at it or they just didn't take it. They just thought that was too high risk or whatever. And they were all men.
Interesting.
So I said, yeah, I don't. And the reason I said, yeah, was it wasn't that it was the neatest package wrapped in a bow and anybody would say yes. There was a lot of pricks to this bear.
Yeah, totally.
So, but I had to assess the risk, and I knew that if it worked out, that would be a pretty good thing for me.
Yeah.
And it did. So it was just a matter of, believing in myself, realizing if I did this, I would have to prove to people why I got this opportunity. I'd have a big target on my back. But you just have to know yourself, and I know myself very well. And once I commit to something, I say I'm going to do it. I will do that. If I didn't make the commitment, I might not do it. I'd find something else I was interested in. I would probably, maybe I'd be doing pottery right now. I don't know.
Totally.
Or I'd be an actress.
Yeah.
But if I commit to something and I say I'm going to do this, and especially if other people rely on me, then I'll keep going with it. But yeah, it was all internal motivators. I didn't want to embarrass anybody who'd given me the opportunity or put their neck out for me. I didn't want to embarrass or make it harder for other women, because I knew that if I did a face plant, it would cost scores of women that opportunity. Probably that's how important it is when you are somebody who never had an opportunity to do something well. You don't have any excuses. You don't get to have an addiction. You don't get to have boundary problems. You don't get to have mental health issues. That's for privileged people. You don't have that privilege. You haven't earned it yet because you're going first still. If you're doing something special as a woman, a minority, you're still going first. So suck it up and do it right. Do it perfectly. Do it flawlessly.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how, I feel like when so many people are standing at the precipice of taking what feels like a risk, they think about all the ways it could go wrong. But it seems like you thought about that a little bit, but also what if it went right? Like this could be an amazing thing.
Nobody thinks about that. I spoke to a group of women the other day, and I said, I'm 58, so let me tell you what you need to be thinking about now. Leaving.
Okay.
Leaving. Your succession plan.
Yeah.
Okay. Too much women are focused on the ascension.
Yeah.
The building, the growing, the reaching the top. You never think about, you're so convinced you're not going to reach it that you don't think about what to do once you get there. And I'm telling you, you will reach it.
Yeah.
So then what? So I hope that you have been mindful of opportunities that you've created for other women and minorities potentially. And nothing against men. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not a man hater, for God's sake. I just know that how hard is it to walk through an open door?
Right.
So I don't have a lot of tolerance and patience for failure whenever everything's set up to go your way. That's why, so do something to help people where everything is not set up to go their way.
Yeah, I love that. And not just think about how am I continuing to ascend, but how am I creating space.
Yeah, what are you doing? What are you building for? And if you're doing it just for yourself, that's fine. I mean, I don't care. It's just, what do you want your legacy to be? Most people are working towards something. Maybe it's for your children. Maybe it's to leave a mark in your community. Maybe it's so you can sleep well and enjoy the things you've worked so hard for without guilt. I don't know, whatever your motivation is. Stop worrying so much about whether you get there and reorient yourself to either I am there. Sometimes you're there and you don't appreciate it. And then what there looks like, what is your there? What is your number? I think everybody ought to have a number. You hear about this sometimes. What is your number? What's the amount of money or resources or whatever you have to where then you go, okay, Now I'm going to make some choices. Now I'm going to decide how I want to live my life. Now I'm going to practice kind of law that changes lives, or now I'm going to start a business, or now I'm going to do whatever. So figure out what your number is, and then what you want your legacy to be, and then start planning for not being there. You shouldn't be the most important person in your firm, or else your firm can't grow.
Yeah, I think that's very true, because otherwise, if you don't have a number, the goalpost keeps shifting, and you never feel like everyone puts things off until, oh, maybe one day I'll this or I'll that or the other thing, but that keeps going further and further out, and people never prioritize what is most meaningful to them because they've never made it to that.
Well, you've got to, if you don't have a number, what is your goal? Is it just to acquire more? Accumulate more? Is more your goal? More
There'll
what?
always be more.
If more is the goal, then you're just constantly trying to fill a vessel with a hole in the bottom.
Yeah.
There's never going to be enough if you don't understand what enough is. And that doesn't mean don't shoot for the stars and don't keep trying things. It just means have a goal, and the goal needs to be, oh, I'm going to bring this many people out of homelessness. I'm going to grow my firm this big, or I'm going to grow the practice areas, or whatever it is. Have something you're working toward, but more, just more money, more stuff, more things. That is a hollow pursuit, in my view.
Yeah. I'm curious, back on the topic of leadership and creating space for the people who are to come behind you. You are a person with many people on your team. I'm curious, what have been some of the most challenging lessons you've learned about leading others well or managing others well?
They're not going to do it the way you would do it. I had a very, like a reckoning not too long ago. I'm involved in these mastermind groups and best practices, and the role of personal injury law is changing so rapidly right now. There's a lot of outside money coming into it that changes the way we practice and the way we acquire cases, that sort of thing. And you've got to be a business person to be successful in the plaintiff's personal injury. Now it's more so people who practice law. Those are just part of the cogs in the machine. It's not like, oh, I'm a lawyer. No, a lawyer's just something you got to have. You got to have a paralegal, case opener, records order, a lawyer. You know what I mean? So when you're an owner, you're looking at it like that. You look at things much differently than, oh, I'm a lawyer who practices law. It's a different world. The people who do that in our world are the trial lawyers now. Everybody else is sort of a manager of people and resources and numbers. It really is that much of a science to do it well. So that's changed so much about what we do. Yeah.
I can imagine as a business owner, marketing and like, how are you going to get your next cases? So marketing, almost like salesmanship, et cetera.
It's part of it? The bane of our existence, because, they say everybody's heard this about advertising. Half your money that you spend on advertising, half of it is wasted. You just don't know which half.
Right.
That is, truer words have never been spoken. So attribution data is more important than ever. This is the biggest challenge in personal injury law right now, is if you are not big on tech, if you are tech shy, if you don't want to be very competitive, if you don't want to understand things that you can't just read up on your own and learn, you're going to have to rely on vendors. So most of the time what you're doing as an owner is vendor vetting. Making sure you're not getting sold something that's not going to deliver, making sure you know who you can talk to for references on products and services, because you have to spend an enormous amount of money with it. Because again, the people who are constrained by the Florida bar's advertising rules are competing with people who are not constrained by that, who have infinitely more money than we do to get those leads and then try to sell them back to us. Those are our clients that we've earned through goodwill, through prior service, that used to come to us through our advertising, or just remember top of mind and where it is, and here's a magnet, the Dana space on it, stuff like that. They've eaten us alive, and so competing with that kind of thing is different. And so you've got to find some way to try to be memorable in a world where that's not as important anymore. It's not just the practice of practice of law that has changed. Our consumer base has changed. The people who used to be legal consumers were a little more discerning. You got to remember who our clients are. I'm not doing wills, estates, probates, business sales. I'm dealing with people who are hurt.
Yeah.
And the kind of people who do something whenever they are hurt are the people who can't absorb that loss on their own. They may not have good relationships with healthcare providers. They may not have insurance. They may not have an ability to go to doctor's appointments and miss work and do the things they need to do to fully heal.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone doesn't fully heal, then they carry that injury with them. And that turns out being, fewer years in the workforce, diminished capacity to earn money in the workforce, things that follow them the rest of their lives. And those kind of things snowball on a person and a family. It can create generational poverty that they can't get out of,
Yeah.
So what we do is very gratifying, but we got to understand too that we get our clients a different way. We used to get them through meaningful connections and them telling other people and coming back and stuff. Now it's whoever is in their face and on their phone and giving them the most interesting commercial. What is my case worth? Call me now. Get your money now. And that is, to someone who's not a sophisticated legal consumer, that can be very compelling. So we're dealing with people who come in, kind of like doctors. You deal with people who come into the examination room with printed out, WebMD things telling you that you don't know anything about it because Claude just told them that they do need surgery,
Yeah,
stuff
I know.
like that. It's just your consumer base is different, and that's also a challenge. But also with that is my workforce is different.
Mm-hmm.
The people that you used to hire who were legal secretaries back in the day who had gone through high school, did well, could read and write perfectly, the King's English, they would work with a lawyer or a law firm for years and retire from there. That went out, years and years ago. And so what I tell my law partners, I said, we don't have employees, we have a bunch of specialists. We have a bunch of people who do only this and only this and only that. And so we have to kind of treat them like that. You don't have somebody who just takes care of Dana Brooks. It used to be back in the day, you couldn't get to Dana without going through Sally. Sally knew everything about where Dana was, what she was going to do. You couldn't get on her calendar without going through it. That's over.
Yeah.
So again, for the lawyers who won't embrace technology, the world's going to leave you behind. So be thinking about how you want to exit and what your succession plan is, and call me because I may want to buy you.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what I look at. I look at people who have a great reputation, great book of business, but just don't want to do this grind anymore. And say, hey, come with me.
Yeah, totally. As you said, there's so much consolidation going on right now of there's a lot of PE-backed firms, but then there's just a lot of opportunities as folks might want to retire or just might not like the business ownership side of things to join forces with someone like yourself who does. So it's exciting. But it does create an interesting marketing challenge as there is so much consolidation and so much, so many national, obviously the Morgan & Morgans of the world, but now there's even more with the ABS concept coming out of Arizona and so many different structures that allow firms to be big and national. We're just seeing many firms, they can't outspend the big players, so they need to find a way to out-strategize.
Yeah, you gotta join forces with other people, and you've got to still, advertising 101. You got to find some way to distinguish yourself once you have established yourself as somebody they know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
Everybody should be somebody you know, like, and trust. So you got to have something else. And in our firm, it tends to be the personal touch.
Yeah,
the fact that we've got really good paralegals and case managers that care about our clients. But you can always talk to your lawyers. You have somebody who's looking at your case, from stem to stern, making sure everything's, we're looking at every angle and potential recovery for you. It's just a different world. And this has happened in the last, I'd say 3 years, 2 to 3 years, it's been this abruptly changed.
Yeah. Yeah. You really need to have a true differentiator like that of, the way you approach your clients or the way you approach the community or other things, because it's everyone will have the same marketing messages, right? Everyone wants to be the strong arm or the hammer or whatever it is.
And I find that people, whenever they see things like that, you can look at focus groups they've done on people like that. They want their money fast is what they want, because that's their problem. That's why they came to you, is they have a financial need that they can't absorb. They're really not looking for a fight. Yeah. Most people have a lot that they've got going on in their lives, and taking on an insurance company is not at the top of the list, even if they have the best lawyer they've ever gotten. That's not what motivates people. What motivates people is putting this problem behind them as fast as possible and getting rid of all the remnants of it and hoping it doesn't drag them down and delay their forward movement and everything they care about in their lives.
On that note, I would love if you could share. I know you've had many, many amazing verdicts and settlements in your career, some over $5 million, it sounds like. So I'm wondering if you could share what are some of the most meaningful cases that have felt most personally meaningful to you?
Well, I did largely medical malpractice and professional negligence, suing for it, and every single one of my cases affected my life. I spend years with my clients, and no, I had very few cases because every single one of them got, all my attention at some point. And you can't you can't swap that kind of attention around when you're juggling a bunch of cases, in my opinion. All of them did. I've watched people figure out how to spend their remaining months of their lives. Thankful enough that I got them enough money to where they could travel if they needed to. I remember one man, he should be here. He had a bad test result that would have, had somebody seen it, they would have found out he had this cancer. And 17 months went by. It's in the file folder. Nobody looks at it. And then the reason he knows he has cancer is he's just trying to put down the hatchback of his car and he breaks a rib because he's got metastasis to the bone. It was just terrible. You see something like that and you have to tell somebody, oh, this 100% could have been avoided. But to see that person, see that man, to know that he had enough money, he could die in peace because he was worried about his wife. And he had grandchildren overseas he'd never seen. So he got to get on a plane and go first class and not have to be in pain and, see his grandchildren and take them anywhere he wanted to go. So that's the kind of thing that changes my life. I've had other cases too that are significant because my client died with me. She came to me. They messed this up. I've got this horrible breast cancer, and then I watched her. And was with her and just watched her just die a slow, miserable, horrible death. Again, test results sitting in somebody's file for 3 years, and she's going for follow-up saying, shouldn't I be on this? My friends in the support group are on it. I shouldn't be. No, don't worry, your pretty little head. I'm the doctor. I know what's going on. Never looked at page 2. Those kind of things. And then watching her daughter graduate without her mother and go to college without her mother and get married without her mother and become a mother without her mother. That hurts your feelings. My cases they stick with me. But I've had some cases too that were significant because of the way they were handled. Like if a medical malpractice lawyer sues you, I've already investigated that case as long as I need to. I've already spent my own money investigating it. So I didn't just sue you to be mean. Yeah. I've already looked into it. Okay. So by the time I'm coming for you, your experts are going to say the same things to you when they review it that mine said when they reviewed it. Okay. So why are you making this worse than it has to be? And that's what they do in medical malpractice. They make you come get it and they drag it out and they put these doctors through torturous hell. And I hate it for them. It's very disruptive to them. They need to just handle it and move on. And my experience, like when I've sued people for other professions for negligence, they just handle it and move on. Yeah, you got me. That was not my best day, and it harmed this person. I need to take care of it. Let's do that right now. They're not like that when you sue doctors. So some of the ones that were significant to me were the ones that we had to litigate so long and put those doctors. My clients have already been through it. They've already been suffering, but then I see the added harm of what these doctors go through and nurses and people like that. Whenever you know what the answer is, you need to take care of it early, and you can do it for cheaper. Yeah. And you can do it with a lot less fanfare and a lot less injury to your family and your reputation and your quality of life. It's not fun to defend a professional negligence case, but that's how that goes.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, medical malpractice work is so meaningful, not only in what you can do for the family, but hopefully in raising some of these things and making systems really think about what has led to the issues that lead to the cases, right? Hopefully over the longer term can impact some change so that other people aren't in that situation.
I think it does, but then again, I think it also results in overcorrection sometimes. They say bad facts make bad law. It's kind of like that. If you were to take an aberrant event and then try to say, we're going to change policy over something that will probably never happen again. They had a bad day and they need to take care of it. So a lot of times the lawsuits can result in an overreaction to things whenever, again, somebody just had a bad day. Not every medical negligence action needs to result in a policy change or a reason for doctors to spend more time documenting things than treating patients. But that is kind of what happens a lot of time.
Yeah. And honestly, it's the best situation for society. If it's not a systemic issue that led to it, it was just like a one-off.
Yeah, you can overreact, and like our legislature does sometimes, is they will have a particular set of facts and want to make a law to address a very narrow, rarely occurring issue, and so many other things will get consumed and subsumed within that. Next thing you know, we're having courts interpret stupid laws in a weird way that ends up inadvertently affecting way more people than originally were meant to be addressed. And so I think that happens a lot of times with these lawsuits. Sometimes it does stop exploding Pintos. There's a lot of good consumer protection that comes out of plaintiffs' lawsuits, but there's also sometimes, in my view, overcorrections that really don't do anything other than create gotcha opportunities for people like me. When you make medical records so hard to comply with and do correctly, you're going to make mistakes, and then I'm going to bring it up and make it look like you don't do anything right.
Yeah.
So you can do too much trying to accomplish noble goals, but you can go about it the wrong way.
Yeah. I would love to expand on what you mentioned a little bit earlier, because you've talked a bit about really spending time thinking about what the future is for yourself and for the firm. And so I'm just curious, if you think about where you want the firm to be in 10 years, how do you think about the future, especially as PI is continuing to change?
Make sure you ask everybody that question, because I bet you anything, the answers are going to be incredibly varied. I don't know if it's being a woman. I don't care.
Tell me more.
Brooks is, a name. Dana Brooks is a brand. Okay. She's a big part of me, but she's not all of me. She's a name. She's a brand. And she means something in a particular community. Okay. I worked very hard on that, and that's why I stuck with that name, because I branded that name. I've been married to somebody totally else since then, and I didn't change the name because it's a strong, good name for the firm. And a lot of firms, you'll notice, are going to just two names and being big, and they're coming. Everything's corporatized.
Yeah.
But Brooks isn't any more my name than Julia is. So I don't have that. I want to see my name on a building and want to make sure that, people are the employees of Facing Brooks long after Facing Brooks are dead. I don't feel that. I think I think you can be replaced in a nanosecond.
Yeah.
I think people don't have the attention span that they used to. They don't value the things they used to. Legacy type things are not, younger kids don't care about that. It's just, the whole family structure, everything's changed. So the things that used to motivate lawyers, and when they thought about turning their firms over or selling their firms, I think that's nostalgia. This is a business, and I don't know who's going to buy it. I don't know if it'll be our junior shareholders. I don't know if it'll be somebody outside. I don't know. But what I want for my future is, I want anybody who's ever dealt with us to feel like they got really good representation from people who actually cared about them.
Yeah. I think
that sounds silly, but I mean that. People who actually cared about you, didn't just want to make money off of you redistributing the wealth between insurance companies and people who
get out of bed every morning.
Cared about you. Wanted your life to be better. Wanted your life to be better because you got hurt. Wanted to give you another opportunity, a fresh start, that sort of thing. Come back stronger. That's our thing. I want people to know that about us. And then I don't know. I don't really know what I want. What I want for me personally, is I want to know that whatever I'm involved in, that I'm doing something good that's contributing. That's what I told our kids when we were raising them. I have one daughter, but we raised three. But I'm just like, just don't take. Don't take from this world. Contribute to it. Don't be a burden on this world. Contribute to it. So I've got to find out the next contribution I can make, and that's my challenge right now. I think about sometimes getting back in the courtroom. Then I think about doing certain things. I write. I like to write, and I have another book idea I'm working on. I've already done one.
Is it a secret or?
No. It's about leaving.
Okay.
It's about it's very timely. It's about, is it time to leave? Do these people want to take this firm and go in a different direction? Is it time? You've done what you've done. You've given opportunities. Is it time you got to find something else? But it could be, it's a broad look at leaving. It could be leaving a religion or to be leaving anything. I feel like, and it's again, probably my age, but at some point you go, I don't have forever.
Mm-hmm.
And stop doing something because it's easy or you're used to it and complacent. You're going to run out of energy, or your health's going to dwindle to the point where you don't have as many options to do this. So I'm at a point where I'm trying to figure out what's the new what's this next chapter or this next act. And what that needs to be. I will tell you my personal interest. I wrote a book called Functional Feminism in 2020. I think it came out in 2021, and it was because I thought that word was dysfunctional. I thought it didn't include a lot of people. It looked like there's only one way to be, for a woman, and I was like, oh, that's not going to work for anybody. You got to include everybody in that. But as I predicted, women are doing great.
Yeah.
I'm worried about these men and these boys. So that's a particular interest. Again, going back to being a social worker, I look at, demographics and behaviors and patterns and predictions. And I would like to try to spend some energy researching and working on the things that are making them really not be very successful right now. And I also would love to be a grandmother one day.
Yeah.
So I would love for these young people to meet up and like each other, and but it seems like we're just so divided right now. So I don't know. I've got a lot of things I'm interested in, but I don't know. I don't know what the future is, but I don't have any kind of a desire for my child to do this or take over a firm. That doesn't do anything for me.
Well, I love how you just said that was really, I can tell you're very humble, right? And that you don't need to be about the name, you want to be about the impact and the impact you're able to make on people's lives, whether it's at the firm or in other things that are impactful. So I'm excited to read your book. I'm going to order that. I'm going to order Functional Feminism.
It's mainly for marketing.
Okay.
I speak about it. I give a lot of lectures on it and stuff, but it's pretty much, I will tell you this, I will pat myself on the back. Everything I predicted came true. So
Really? Okay. Wow, that's amazing. Cool. Well, we've covered a lot of ground here already, but just to close out, I would love to hear any parting shots regarding advice. So we have a lot of people who listen who are thinking about starting their own firm or going out on their own or being the partner at their firm. And what advice would you give a woman in that situation?
Don't listen to somebody telling you no. Just decide that, okay, that door is closed, but walk around. I'll give you an example. There was a woman I met she spoke at some conference, and she'd been an insurance defense lawyer. Those are the people who, the insurance company hires to defend these claims that people like me bring. And that can be very appealing because it's a decent salary. You know what the expectations are. You know what the track is. But for a lot of people, they want to have more autonomy, do more. And this woman, she had done that track. She got out on her own. She already had a baby. And she's like, I'll get stuck there. I'll never leave if I don't do it now. I'll have another baby, and then it won't be an option for me. So she started her own business out of her law firm. She called everybody she went to law school with who she knew probably had a PI case that shouldn't have one. People who do probate, wills, divorce, could be whatever. She goes, you've got some cases in there that you probably are bogged down on because you don't have the time to learn the law and call anybody. Let me take those and let me resolve those or try them or whatever, and we'll split the fees. And they're happy to do it. So she did that. And after about 2 months, not very long at all, she had like $40,000 saved up. And then she got an office and a half an assistant. And then she kept adding to that and did it. And then she started, she was so smart. She spent as much time on her business as she did in her business. She found out she could use some clerks, law clerks and stuff like that to do some of this legal stuff. And then she would put it together and package it. Meanwhile, she's over there working the phones, calling people, writing thank you notes for every referral, all that stuff. And then, that's how she grew a business. But all that to say this, don't accept no. Just figure out the way. There is a way. Go figure it out. And if you don't know how to do it, go find somebody who looks like they are doing it, who has it together, and go, what's the deal? What did you do? And they have a story. They've got some helpful hints. So find yourself some mentors. Be a mentor if you've done this. I think that's very, very important. If you've done anything that anybody's curious about, that's hard to do, show somebody else how to do it. But that would be my number one thing. Call other people and find out how they do it. And don't think that and I've had a lot. I wouldn't be where I am with if it weren't for men. They got there first, and you got to know them. They still control most things. So don't think a man can't help you. You can't do it the way a man did. That's the distinction. It's distinction with merit. You can't do it the way they did. but you can't do it without them because they're there and they occupy the space.
They
So until that all equalizes, don't think you're going to just go around men. But they used to get, the way they got there isn't going to work for you most of the time. Golfing, poker, cigars, all those places where you could be there. There's some men who will say, oh, come on, or whatever. Do you want to be there? Are you comfortable there? No. So you're going to have to find some way to make up for those advantages they have, because it's still mostly men doing these decisions. It's still mostly men doing men stuff. So you got to be smarter. And if you walk around with a chip on your shoulder, showing your ass, that's not going to work. You can't alienate men. You're not going to get anywhere.
Absolutely. Oh, I think that's great parting shot to end on. And I think advice that's good across outside of legal too, right? As far as thinking
That's life, lady.
finding the right mentors, right guidance, learning from others, and importantly, like you said earlier, not just working in your business, but working on the business. So
Have to.
a lot of really good takeaways there. Thank you so much for joining us, Dana. It was really wonderful chatting with you.
This was fun. No trouble at all. I'd love to talk about stuff like this. I'd like to do anything that helps a woman, change her condition and have more options. That way she can have whatever life she wants. If it's traditional, if it's biblical, if it's, I don't want to be bothered by that stuff, I want to be career oriented anyway. It's just, you've got to hear from other people, and your show is very important about bringing that kind of information out there and sharing it with people. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks for joining.